Hello and welcome back to video 3, how we get found. Nowhere near as long as the previous one because I think you'll agree that that's quite important information. Knowing exactly what's going on and why and what the consequences are of what's going on, both short and long term. So how we get found, we're going to jump straight in here. I'm a big fan of leverage in terms of small concepts that can have a huge impact. What I want you to do is take a huge breath in with me. Let's go. Exhale and answer a very simple yet important question. What's wrong with this moment? Look around you. What are the known threats in your immediate now, the very place you're at? Some of you, there may be threats, and that's okay. But for many of you, sitting at home or in an office, there's no threats at all. And there's something important here because I want to extend that. Most of the time, for most people, there is nothing wrong with this moment. And we get that intellectually, but that doesn't stop the inner critic looking for problems. So it's very important to understand that there's two levels of play here. There's the reality that is, i.e. this room I'm in now. But then there's a different level. There's the what may be, what was. And that gives us a very powerful insight into the cause and effect nature of suffering. Because if you admit with brutal honesty that the environment you are in now is completely safe, clear of any threat whatsoever, you have also confirmed that any discomfort largely comes from your inner studio. So we know what to do, and this is such a powerful concept in terms of awareness, because quite often we convince ourselves that the thought creating the feeling is confirming outside is a dangerous place. And we look for those problems. You've heard the phrase, it's a jungle out there. The world's out to get you. Everyone's after their piece. They'll chop your legs off for £5 kind of thing. Now it can be brutal, particularly in the world of business, but that's a percentage of reality. Because the last time I looked, the world was an abundant, beautiful place full of extremely interesting people, some of them more interesting than others, if I'm honest. And there's a world out there for us to explore, pretty much the playground. So come back to that question. What's wrong with now? When you can confirm that now's a safe place, something has happened. The birth of awareness, presence, mindfulness. These are all interchangeable terms. Because what you've done is you've focused your attention on the here and now. Because quite often it's running elsewhere. You see, physically we are time-bound. Short of teleportation being invented, possibly not in my lifetime, or if your name's Doctor Who, you don't have any other place to call home. This vehicle exists in the moment as a continuous now, plodding along as time rolls on. Yet the thoughts, as we mentioned earlier, can go anywhere past and anywhere into possible, probable futures. So hopefully you can see a picture begin to emerge now. If now's fine, the only way I can ever feel uncomfortable, anxious, judged, sad, overwhelmed, angry, will be because of the content that I play in my inner studio. We're going to dig down a level on that. The mind believes everything that it's given airtime to. Now, this is why horror movies terrify people. If you think about it, a horror movie is a set with actors and actresses made up to look the part, just out of shot, tens, on some scenes, hundreds of people. They come in, do the hair, check the makeup, look at the lights, action, and away they go. I love horror movies because if they can get a jump out of me, fantastic. Quite a lot of people don't like horror movies, and they're kind of there holding the pillow cushion and they're looking away. And when the star potentially goes down into the basement, they're so terrified they can't watch. So what's happening here is what you give airtime to is treated as real. Why? Green elephant. You've probably just seen a green elephant in your head. If you don't treat as real any thought, any sense of information outside that comes in, you potentially would not react to real situations that could be life-threatening or cause serious pain. Now, there's a reason for that. If something could be fatal, you don't get a second chance. So our ancestors would hear a rustling in the bushes and would rarely walk over to inspect it. They would either stand their ground, spears pointing forwards, or they would run to escape potential harm, threat, maybe even death, who knows. So the consequences of not acting upon something which could be fatal is obviously it could be fatal. So there's a cautionary mechanism in that brain, the brainstem largely, known as the reptilian brain, which is there to serve our best interest. And it stood the test of time, but is still a major player in quite a lot of today's low-level anxiety. Because when there's nothing on the radar, we still have the arrow in the bow, loaded and ready for what could potentially turn up and ruin this moment. Now think about that. We are present, but we're not present. We're looking out for problems. And becoming very, very tired, because if any of you have done archery, you don't get to hold that for any length of time without fatigue kicking in and the muscles becoming weaker. So my advice here is bring yourself back to the now as often as you can. Ask yourself, even call yourself out, try to catch yourself. What am I doing? Well, I'm standing in the kitchen, potentially having an argument with someone at work because, and can you see the discrepancy here? I'm worried about traveling at the weekend because I'm not sure where to park and I don't want a ticket. I'm angry at my ex because I didn't get to say this and they said that and it hurt me. So these are distractions which invade the now so that we are actually not here. And not being here is a big problem for many of us because most of us are not here most of the time. We are very present and aware when there's a serious accident. Smoke alarm goes off in your house. You turn the corner and you are head on to a truck flashing the main beam lights. There's that instant shock. Everything focuses on the moment so that you can deal with it. And yet as soon as that threat passes, so does our focus. It jumps to the next thing, jumps to the next thing. digs up what was and worries about what may be. So a little bit of homework here. Work out where your mind goes most of the time. Are you more a digging up the past person, or are you more a worrying about the future person? There's no right, there's no wrong. There's no preference or best practice, because that will give you some powerful insights. Quite often the past is rectified to a massive degree with forgiveness and gratitude. The future is rectified by bringing your resources that are out there back to this moment and doing a few things. Goals, action steps, and starting. And this is very important for so many coaches, trainers, and entrepreneurs that overthink their way into inaction. From my own world, I turned up to film this course here today. It wasn't ideal. There's a road outside and you may hear vehicles pass by every minute or so. And there was actually a bird building a nest in the roof that's disappeared at the moment. And I thought something. All of this is fine, or all of it can be a problem. And you know the beauty about that? I get to choose. I could have gone home and I could have said, that was a waste of time, terrible conditions. But I set up and I'm doing it. Why? Because I don't need to be perfect. This isn't a National Geographic award-winning documentary costing £5 million and filmed by 18 cameramen over the period of months to get that perfect shot. This is me in a converted barn talking about the mind, hopefully with the ability to impact, inspire, and give you clarity on one of the most important aspects in your world and what you can do about it.